Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy. Check us out if you have spare time. And welcome to episode 13 of the Think Out Loud series, which will be in the Think Out Loud playlist. And this is where we take suggestions from you for me to show how I would plan research or how I would design stuff. So this one, hey I10, this one I think asked for both. I think this was a research and design adventure. So we always start with planning the research. If we run out of time today, we'll get into design next Monday. Hi Charlene, hope you're feeling better. But today we'll at least take a look at some of the possible research for this fake project and take a look at some of what's already out there related to this industry, and then eventually maybe do a little design. As always, I want to thank the people. Hey, Orlando. I want to thank the people who give a little money to the channel each month. Thank you very much. You help me reinvest in my streaming software and buy delicious chocolate chips, which I definitely ate too much of today. And I was just eating some cookies I made, chocolate chips. And so let's jump into the project and we can talk about what it looks like and what we're going to be working on for today and possibly next week as well. So let's press this button. And yeah, okay, great. So you see me and the chat room. Hi, Janice, the optional tip jar, and my browser, or whichever side that's on. Someone help me here. This side. Okay, right hand. There we go. Hi, Manuel. You joined early. Congratulations. You're here just at the start. So let's take a look at what was sent in and think about what we're going to do with it. It says the target audience is language learners who want to learn, say, German, because they want to move to Germany someday. Okay, problems and pain points. Learning a lot of vocabularies on language apps like Duolingo, Memrise, etc., but they lack the opportunity to do speaking and writing, specifically on grammar practice with professional feedback from certified teachers. They don't have the time to go to language school because the commute is long. One-on-one tutoring is expensive. You know, it's always funny when I see these things happening in real life or design challenges or sample projects. It's like we've narrowed it down to the person who wants like none of the available options. I don't want to use apps. I don't want to go to a language school. I don't want one-on-one tutoring. Evidently, you expect expert language instruction for free. You know, and not everything should be built for everybody. So I think we would have to really question. Hi, Eleonore. I probably didn't say that very well. I apologize. And hi, Banarazi. Hi, everybody. So it's always interesting for me to see this where we've narrowed it down and narrowed it down and narrowed it down to like, is this anybody? And if it is, can we build a business on this? Because ultimately, unless you're doing this as a nonprofit organization or hobby, you've got to make money somehow. So how are you going to make money if you're not a language app? You're trying to do speaking and writing and learn grammar. You're trying to give people professional feedback from certified teachers. Hi, Alvina. But these people don't have the time to go to language school, and one-on-one tutoring is expensive, but they expect professional feedback from certified teachers. This is like UX. It's like, well, I expect expert professionals to help me, but I don't want to pay them for coaching. Is this a real project? No, I think the person said this was a fake project. But I can check. Hold on. Oops, wrong thing here. Let's check. Let's put up a giant picture of me while I check my records for Think Out Loud. Let's see if I can find it. Think Out Loud suggestion. Here it is. Nope, it says totally fake. So there you go. So there's that. And let's go back to a giant picture of me. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the person also wrote, a study from the language school Sprachcafé, over 90% of the 2,000 students studied said that they found interaction with other people to be the most useful resource for learning. Second language courses tend to favor the most proper way of speaking. They teach you how to speak, how most people think you should speak, rather than how people really do speak. Okay, well, let's stop and talk about that for a moment, because you also said your target audience wants to live in Germany. Depending upon where they're coming from, if they are considered an immigrant, they might have to take a government test for language proficiency. At that point, they need to know the language, how it should be spoken, even if they also learn, hey, Mix Betty, even if they learn slang and other things like that. Again, I've got some experience in this area. I know I'm not the user, but I happen to have experience here since I did move to Italy. I did have to study for a language test. I did have to take a language test. And if there are differences between how I'm learning Italian and how people speak it, I still have to pass the test. Hi, Aitan. They mentioned correct grammar and how native people speak. Not all native people follow correct grammar. That's also true. And my teacher, everyone knows I talk about my teacher, Beatrice, that Beatrice will often tell me, like, this is the right way to say this, but really you don't hear it very much. You hear people say this, and it's okay to say this. And so good to have, she is beyond a certified language professor, so she's a good person to know. Hi, Steph. Also here it says, research has found that the group that had done conversation practice improved significantly in their overall fluidity of speech, variation in vocabulary, listening comprehension, and correct use of grammar, whereas the group that simply practiced vocabulary and grammar showed no significant improvement over this time period. Okay, so again, sure, that makes sense. If you practice more, you'll probably get better at something. You'll get better at violin. You'll get better at UX. Sure, if you're practicing something, especially with a certified teacher, sure. So again, I think that this is a really cherry-picked example, but let's say we did want to do some research around this. What the person has requested is step 1, we would do our research planning. But before we do our research planning, I want to jump out to a couple of websites and talk about what I have found that's already out there. So flipping over to this screen, we'll do Tandem second. So I met Beatrice through italki, which is a site where you can find a teacher and book time with them, and they get paid, and italki takes a little piece, obviously not sponsored. And here's something, I was poking around their section of the site, which was like, find a language partner, find somebody who you can speak with for practice. And I stumbled on this person named Kate, and of course, I don't know her. She might be an absolutely lovely person. And she posted about 2 weeks ago that she's looking for a language partner to learn Italian. And that she would then help someone else learn English because she is British. And this was the interesting thing that started occurring to me, because my first thought was like, well, could I practice with Kate? Well, not really, because it seems like in these language exchanges, the idea is that even if the other person is not a certified teacher, the idea is that they're a native speaker. And so, because here, if you take a look at what Kate has written in Italian, it has a number of mistakes in it. It is definitely very beginner Italian with a lot of mistakes in it. I ran it by my boyfriend to make sure I was correctly recognizing the mistakes, because I'm still learning Italian and I make mistakes too. So there are a number of mistakes here. So that makes me not really want to talk to Kate for my own Italian practice, because she's at a lower level than I am and she's not going to catch my mistakes, and I might be correcting hers a lot. Aitan says there's also Cambly, relatively cheap but without any structure. I feel people should either go for paid options or compromise quality and talk to anybody. Native speaker is not equal to good teacher. That's true, and I do run into that a little bit with my boyfriend, who's a native speaker and sometimes really helpful in teaching me, and sometimes I feel like he's not helpful in teaching me, and that's not meant to be an insult. He's not a certified language teacher, neither am I. I would probably do a bad job trying to teach someone. So when I saw this post from Kate, I figured, yeah, Kate needs a language partner, but it's not going to be me. And it sounds like what people do is they try to match up native speakers of different languages. So for example, I would be matched with a native Italian speaker who I could speak Italian to and they would speak it back to me, and I assume they would correct my mistakes. And they might want to learn English, and I'm a native English speaker, and we would do some English speaking, and I assume I would correct their mistakes, assuming I have good grammar. So then I was thinking, okay, what about tandem? Since it was mentioned in the in what someone sent in, and I've heard about it as well. So let's take a look at what it's like to try to use tandem. So let's say I would like to find an Italian conversation partner. So I can say Italian. Okay, cookies. I'm in a private browser. I'll just say accept all, but you know I hate cookies. Which languages do you want to practice? Italian. What are these 3 marks here? Not sure. Okay, what is my language level? That's hard for me to know. I've been real lazy about learning. Sometimes I feel beginnery and sometimes I feel intermediate-y. I honestly don't know. Maybe I'm intermediate. I wish they had a way to tell me. What is your native language? It would be English. I can add another one. Can you speak any other languages fluently? No. I'll say skip. What do you like to talk about? Work. Your answer is too short. Okay. Work. Work. Dogs. What's your perfect tandem partner like? Hey, y'all, you have your critical thinking hats on, right? How does this help me or anybody? How does this end up matching me with someone? I mean, what else? What am I going to write? You know, tall, handsome. I10 says, such a hassle to sign up for a simple language exchange site. What are your language learning goals? Now I need a photo. Everyone must have a photo that clearly shows their face. I think I would have given up by now. Why is that important? And won't I be speaking with someone, which is either going to be audio or video? So why do I have to upload? Hi, Madalena. Why do I have to upload a photo? And if I upload a photo that isn't my face, you know, what happens? Let's see. Nope, that's not it. Camera uploads. Hi, Shannon. Great to see you again. Dave says, helps you find someone who gives the right kind of critique, how well they know the language and goals. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so you know, we've talked about onboarding before, and we've talked about how onboarding can stand in someone's way when it seems like this is going on a bit too long. Why is my gender important? And where are all of the other genders that exist? What if I don't want to sign up right now? What if I'm just still kind of looking around and checking this out? So I think they've put up some obstacles. I also don't know if this costs anything. If this costs anything, that hasn't been clear. I don't know if I'm signing up for a free account. I don't know if there's a paid account. So I think that there's definitely, there could be a better way than this, because I feel like I want to stop here because I don't know what's going on here. Elliot says, I can barely read the input text. Yeah. We transfer data to third countries. We retain your data. Oh, this is going to be a long page. Data protection. Children under 14 are not allowed. Now, that might be why they're asking your birthday, but there wasn't anything there that would stop me from faking my birthday. Well, I think I'm kind of done with Tandem. So back to profile pic, gender, nope, bye. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if someone's like, oh, I only want to talk to women or men, then is this still a language learning website or is this something else? And what if I don't want to go by last name is required, but what if I don't want to give my real or full name? It's not clear to me how this is going to show up to other users. Are they going to have my full real identity? That's not always safe. Why can't I make up a funky username like learning Italian 02? So yeah, I would say right away, this makes me feel like I'm not really comfortable with this. I'm sure many people don't even think about this and they just go, or they log in with Facebook and they go. But I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking, I'm done. So let's go back to our project here. And again, today we'll at least try to get through our research idea, and maybe we'll try to do some design of a better onboarding next week if we don't get to it today. Dave says, strange that last name looks required, but not first. Yeah, exactly, Dave. I know there's a little bit of a time delay between when I'm seeing things and when LinkedIn is, but excuse me. Yes, I also found that strange. And you could put all kinds of fake garbage in here. It might not even matter. I mean, could I put completely fake things in here? Your birth year. They just want to make sure I'm older than 14, right? Okay, so I'll just put in somebody else's birthday. I don't know whose. I'm making it up. And I'm male. Why not? Okay, so now I would have to go and get the email and verify it. Now, verifying email isn't a bad idea. I'm not against that, but I'm just saying I still don't know if this costs anything, and I'm still not too sure what's happening here. And it's got a countdown, which can be bad for accessibility. So, yeah. Good luck to puppy@puppy.com. I'm so sorry that I've now put you probably on these people's mailing list. Brian says, I might steal Puppy McPuppy for the next username I create, and hi. Steph says, can you put special characters, names with 2 characters? A lot of sites won't let you. Good question. Could I be, let's see if I can turn on my international symbols on my keyboard. Oh. I have a problem when I type international symbols, it sometimes goes back to another page. Ooh. Let's just start with letter E. A. Oh, password. No, it seemed to be fine with that. And it didn't even notice it was an email address I already used. So it wasn't even checking for, it didn't say like, hey, wait, your email address was already used. So that was a little weird. Hi, Dilip. Hi, Ugochukwu from Nigeria. Hi. Yeah, so still not too sure. Apologies to the people at puppy@puppy.com. Jeepers. All right, so let's get back and let's see if we can plan some research. How would we, if we were working at a company, maybe it's a fake startup that's looking to create a new website to compete against Italki, to compete against Tandem, and get into the space of, let's just say, all it's going to do is match language learners with each other. How would we want to learn more about our possible target audience? Oh, my light isn't quite right. Maybe that's better. What research would we do to learn more about our target audience who intends to do some language practice. So let's plan some research. So again, if you're watching live, write stuff in the chat. We've got LinkedIn and YouTube here. Let's talk about some of our research goals. Let's talk about some of the profiles of people we're looking to meet. And you know, if you've watched this show before, you know that sometimes I'm thinking in terms of low effort, medium effort, high effort. We originally said that we were looking to the target audience wants to learn German to move there someday. That sounds very possibly distant, which means people might not be motivated to learn German quickly, and they might not be motivated to learn German expensively. So we might find that we have low, medium, high effort people. Maybe the high effort people have a plan to move to Germany in the next 4 to 6 months, and they've really got to start practicing. Elvina says, nobody seem to be interested in languages. I-10 said, is it moving to a specific country really relevant unless they're taking a citizenship test, but it doesn't happen in the beginning? Well, actually, I'm in Italy, and without becoming a citizen, just for being an immigrant, I had to take an Italian language test within my first 2 years and pass it. Otherwise, I was in trouble as an immigrant. So remember, there might be language tests even for relocation or immigration in a place, even if you are not pursuing citizenship, since I'm many years from Italian citizenship. Now, the way it was sent to us was that they believe the target audience wants to move to Germany someday. We could exclude that from our research. We could ask people if they're trying to move to Germany or why they're trying to learn German. But it sounds like it's more important for us to try to just learn more about how people plan to go about this learning or have already started. So I might imagine if we didn't already have clear personas or segments or behavior typologies, I might start, so I will say, lacking anything else, I will start with low, medium, and high effort learners. Madalena says, moving with a partner to a foreign country. Yeah, that's what I did. Dave says it would be the same in Germany. You need to prove to be able to get residency. Great. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, same for Italy. I was allowed to live here for 2-ish years, but if I hadn't passed my test by then, I was in some sort of trouble that I never learned about because I passed my test quite early. So let's say we start with wanting to find some low effort learners. Yeah, I hope to move to Germany someday. I'm going to do a little bit of learning. More medium effort learners. Yeah, my spouse is actively trying to get a job in Germany. We think we're going to be moving there in the next year. And maybe high effort learners. Wow, my spouse or I did get a job in Germany. We really have to start learning this language either for a proficiency test or to feel competent in our new country. So let's imagine we have those 3 groups. When we've got 3 groups, we typically want to meet 8 to 12 per segment. That is the current rule of thumb. So I would say we would probably want to meet at least, of course, 8 times 3 is 24. 12 times 3 is 36. So I would say let's try to meet approximately 30, sorry, not factorial, approximately 30, give or take. Of course, we'd be writing a screener survey to try to get the right mix of genders, ages, maybe different reasons for wanting to learn German, and of course, try to address those behavioral effort levels. Hudipta says the trouble was no more chocolate chips. And hello, yeah, I have plenty of chocolate chips. Thanks to all of you and our low ego action heroes. So maybe that's who we want to learn. As usual, varied genders, varied ages. Let's write this down. We want to get a right mix of profiles. And of course, the right mix of profiles includes varied genders and ages, varied levels of effort. Now, again, it's my assumption that we're looking for different levels of effort. That's sometimes where I start when we don't have marketing or sales or somebody else saying, ooh, this is really our target audience sweet spot. And it could be people who are moving to Germany, but still they could be low, medium, high effort. I was kind of medium effort until I passed my language test. And then honestly, I've been low effort, even though I'm living here. Jamila says, would it be different depending upon the native language? How easy or difficult it is to learn a new language? Would you need to explore that too? I think native language could be different, and also other languages you've studied. Like I studied Spanish long time ago, and my Italian teacher is pretty sure that did help set me up for understanding some things about Italian. But since this is research to try to learn more about our target audiences, it may or may not matter what they speak now. I think we're trying to get more at the behavior of how they're going to learn, and hypothetically what our fake company would build for a new language learner. And again, remember, we're going to try to pair people up with a native speaker. So for example, if it's a French person wanting to learn German, then we have to pair up a native French speaker with a native German speaker, which we would find out later in the design, like we just did in tandem. So I'm not sure I need to find that out in the research. I-10 said, would it make sense to talk to people who already moved to a different country and talk about the difficulties they've faced learning a language? Yeah, I think that could make sense to try to find some people who haven't moved yet and maybe don't know what it's like to be dropped into a new language or culture. And then people who have already made the move and said, like, I wish I could tell my past self to have done this. Great idea. Let's write that down. Find some people who haven't yet moved to Germany and some who have already moved. So so let's talk about some goals that we would have in our research. I don't think we have a task necessarily to watch people do. You tell me if you can think of a task, but I can certainly think of some in-depth interview questions that we would want to ask people. So we'll certainly want to, now we'll know from the survey if they've moved or not, and maybe the screener survey could say when they plan to move or how long they've lived there. So we don't have to ask them those, although we could just for icebreakers and warm-up questions. But what's the real goal of the research? And remember, research goals are about finding something that's really actionable. When we learn these things, we'll be able to make decisions. We'll be able to take action. I think that's often a mistake in some of the research that I see people planning, or sometimes the research that I volunteer to be a participant for. I look at what people are asking me and I say, I'm not sure you're going to know what to do after we're done talking. Your questions are kind of general. You tell me about the last time you used our service and it didn't go that well. Honestly, you should be watching me. So let's take a look at what kinds of things we want to learn from here, knowing that we think that our company wants to build a system that matches native speakers of different languages with each other. So we do want to learn, let's see, how long have you been studying German? Well, these are questions, but let's just treat them as goals for now. How long studying German? Why studying German? Maybe get them to speak to that a little bit. Methods for learning, what worked and what didn't. Because I know I started Italian with apps, and the apps, I really hated all of them. They just wanted me to repeat sentences that made no sense, that no one will ever say, like the boy eats the apple. And I was like, wow, I can say the boy eats the apple, but I can't say the boy ate 2 apples, or 3 boys ate 6 apples, or someone will eat an apple in the future. Dave says, we want to understand motivations: hobby learner, job seeker, immigrant. Yeah. So great, Dave. I think we're going to cover that with why are you studying German? And they might say, well, to move there. And so a possible follow-up question could be, why are you moving there? It could be, as you said, seeking a job, maybe going there to study or go to school, going with a spouse or a partner, a family member. I think we'll learn that in there. So thanks, Dave, for reminding us for that, and a good follow-up question. Previous experience with learning other languages. Very good. Previous languages studied, maybe what works and what didn't. Let's see, what else? What do we want to learn that's going to help us take action? We've talked about methods for learning and what works and what didn't. So we'll find out if they tried an app. We'll find out if they tried a school. We'll find out if they tried a private teacher. We'll find out if they've tried find a chat buddy sites before. So these are some of our goals. Budget. Let's find out if they do have a budget for learning. I know that the original document that was sent in said, oh, they don't want to spend money on learning. Let's face it, you probably can't learn a language very well or very fast for free. Desired level of language. That's good. Let's get that in there. So let's get language goals. Like, for example, my first main goal was pass the national test. After that, I can be lazy if I want to be lazy, though I'm lazier than I should be. That was my goal. Once I passed that test, because it was required for my immigration, then I didn't have to push so hard. So great choice there, language goals. Udipta says another goal could be to figure out whether they want to learn formal or business because of a job or casual. Yes, yeah, you're totally right. I know from working with my teacher that sometimes she is working with people who are going into high-level business or academia. They want to come to another country to be a professor, so they have to be able to write and speak at a level many of us aren't writing and speaking at. So that's part of goals. The language goals could be level to which you want to learn, test you have to pass, formal, business, academic, German. These are good follow-up questions. If the person happens to not mention them when we ask them about their goals, we can then follow up and say, well, is there a certain test you have to take in a certain amount of time? Dave says, do you know what level they speak? Okay, so maybe what level, again, these goals are a little bit out of order. They don't match the order in which we would ask questions, but self-assessment of level they are at now, or maybe an assessment they received from a teacher, or assessment they received from a teacher or professional of some sort. A deadline for the goal. A friend had to learn Luxembourgish within the first year of his contract to keep it, for example. Right, and I had to take a test within 2 years. So let's talk about language goal. Tests you have to pass, deadlines related to language proficiency, great ones. And by the way, by the end of the show, I'm going to load this up to an Axure file. And if you'd like to see it, you can point your browser at QXN, like Nancy, P Peter, Z Zebra, B Bravo, .axshare.com. Also, please remember, if you enjoy these shows, please subscribe to the Delta CX YouTube channel, ring the bell and mark it all notifications. And if you enjoy these, please tell 3 friends about it, because I bet you know other people interested in learning more about UX. Saskia says, hi there, maybe find out how much time they're willing to invest. You know, the interesting thing about that is that I find that sometimes people do not predict that correctly. I think we could ask that, but I probably would not take that answer seriously, because sometimes people go, oh yeah, you know, like we learned here, you know, I don't want to spend money, I don't have time. You find out later, they need to spend money. They need to make time. So I sometimes I don't ask questions that predict what someone might do in the future. So we could ask them that, but I probably wouldn't take the answer super seriously, because we are bad at if you had asked me 3 years ago, how seriously will you continue your language learning after you pass the test? I would have said, oh my God, I'm going to push it hard every day. I haven't. Yeah. So just a warning there. Also, if you need any information about the stream, you can go to deltacx.com/links. This will show you our stream schedule. It'll show you how to join our free Slack workspace. It'll show you how to send stuff in for future Think Out Loud shows. So anything you want to know is over at deltacx.com/links. Also up here on the top, or up here on the top. All right, so Let's see now. Sriyashini says, has language dialects been considered yet? No, we haven't, but I think if we're assuming people are moving to Germany, they probably are looking to learn standard German rather than a dialect of it. Again, this was the original thing that was sent in. They want to move to Germany, so they think they have to learn German. It's an assumption that they're looking to learn standard German. We could ask about that, but again, I would assume that this is about standard German, but we could ask that. Let's see. So if we're running a little short on goals, I will usually just give my brain a little break and try to start writing some questions related to the goals, even if my questions are starting out a little bit raw, even if, I'm going to have to fix them later. They're not going to be perfect, but I can at least start getting some stuff out of my head and start matching questions to the goals. So again, barring any icebreaker or early questions, let's just start turning some of the goals into some of our questions and follow-up questions. So how long they've been studying German? That's an easy question. Hi, how long have you been studying German? Why are you studying German? If they don't mention that they're moving there, we could ask, do you have plans, or let's start with, do you have plans to move to Germany or a German speaking country? Maybe it's Austria. What languages they're speaking? Do you mean like now, what their native language is? We would be interviewing them in English, or whatever language your company works in. Let's dig into their past a little bit. Let's talk about what languages have you studied before German? So that was previous language studied, and a follow-up question would be, what went well with those studies? What could be improved? Now, remember, I usually don't ask, what do you like, what do you not like? Instead of asking people, what don't you like, I usually ask, what could be improved? I just find that's a better way to phrase that, and because sometimes people are afraid to not talk about something they didn't like because they don't want to insult or offend or sound like they're complaining. But I find when you ask what could be improved, there's just something about that opens up people a little bit more. I mean, those that they've learned or are learning. Okay, I think we're going to get there. Excuse me. Everybody knows it's that time of the day where I'm falling apart. Okay, so previous languages studied. I want to know how much money they spent on learning other languages, because I'm curious if, now again, something they did in the past does not necessarily imply something they'll do in the future, just like something they say they'll do in the future doesn't mean they will. But I'm curious if they're the type of person who's going to invest, or if they're always going to try to find the free way to do something. So I'm going to ask, how much time did you spend studying that language? And how much money did you invest? Let's use the word invest and keep it positive in studying that language. Dave says, which tests have you taken to gauge your level? How did you score? Okay, so this has to do with what level, let's see, at what level are you now with German? Is that, how did you assess that level? Self-assessment. Now, I'm not going to give them these choices. I don't want them to feel locked into these choices. I'm just thinking kind of to myself. I'll put it in like brackets so I don't say it out loud. Did they self-assess? Did a teacher assess them? Oops, that's not how you spell teacher. What about a native speaker? A native speaker, assess them. An app or site, something else. Always add something else to a list of choices so you don't block yourself in. What they found the most effective in terms of progress. Yeah, we could ask that. What was most effective in your progress with that language? Jamila says, what are the learning methods and how did you learn that other language? What are the languages you studied before German? What went well with those studies? Oh, this is technically a follow-up question. So this goes here. So does the other one. And also, and again, these might be out of order or a little sloppy. I would always fix them later. What were your learning methods? Okay. What learning methods did you try or use? So that would be something like apps. Oop. And again, I wouldn't say this out loud, but I might prompt them. Did you use an app? Did you go to a school? Like, wait to see what their answer is. Apps, schools, private tutoring, etc. What they think is the most challenging thing about learning a new language. What learning style helped learning a previous language? Okay, so what learning methods did you try or use? And here we go. We have so I'll just reorder these quickly. What learning methods, and then what style was most effective. Then we can also ask what Elvina is writing, which is what was most challenging about learning that language? How did you overcome that or improve the situation? Okay, so we've got a lot of background on what they've done in the past, what worked for them, what didn't, what they preferred. That will give us a lot of good information that matches our goals and could hypothetically set our fake startup up to make some better decisions. Let's see. Budget. We talked about how much money they invested. What level are you at now with German? Maybe we could also ask at some point, what is your budget for learning German to reach your goals? Okay, a native. So we're supposed to be a company that matches up native speakers. So note that we're not going to ask something like, if we had an app that matched you with a native speaker, would you want that? Because again, that's a prediction of the future where people are likely to say yes, but it's really unlikely that we're going to design what's in their heads. Remember, when we all started trying to sign on to Tandem together about 20 or 30 minutes ago, the onboarding experience that was in our heads was not the one we ended up experiencing. So we typically don't ask people to predict a future behavior because it's really unlikely that we would design what's exactly in their heads. We would have to do a lot more research on people's mental models and perceptions and priorities and stuff to get a sense of that. No, we don't ask people to sketch things out. People are generally not great architects of their own solutions. Okay, what is your budget for learning German to reach your goals? Elvina says, what's important when they're choosing a tutor or language exchange partner? Criteria for the choice. Okay, maybe we can say, what methods? So we've asked, where are you now with German? And then we should ask, what methods are you currently using to learn German? We could ask, what methods do you plan to use? But again, always take that with a grain of salt. Assume that people won't follow through on their own ideas. But if we think it would help us to learn what people are considering or researching, we could. We could ask what methods they've considered and how far they've gotten with them. But again, only ask a question if you think it's going to help you with your goals. We can be endlessly curious about stuff, and that's a curious question, but is it a question that's going to help us make decisions or set our UX designers up for design success? So let's see, what methods are you currently using to, okay. Let's see. Are there any methods you tried that you abandoned? I might change that word later, but I'm trying to get at what worked for them and what didn't. So, was there something they were doing that they tried and dropped? Like I tried Duolingo, I dropped it. Let's learn why. Why and what could have been improved. So again, it gives us a little bit more about their perceptions of things. Describe a time when you noticed you made progress in the language and how you got there. Okay, so that's probably back up here with how are you now with German, Dave, or with their previous language, with the language they've studied before, assuming they did. Janice said, how did you practice the language outside of the learning environment? That's a nice question. Well, let's see. We could ask that both for the old language that they've learned before and German. How did you practice this language outside of the learning environment? And we could ask, how are you practicing German now? I mean, now that's leading. That assumes they are practicing German now. But since we've specifically screened people for probably actively studying German, that's a little bit of a safe question. Otherwise, it would be a leading question because we wouldn't know if they are practicing German now. If you're not sure if they are, then you can always start with that question. Are you practicing German now? And if so, how? Okay, so there's an example of where we took a question that was a little bit leading because it made an assumption that they were practicing, and then we improved it by starting with, are you doing this? Yes, no. Oh, you are doing it? How? Oh, you're not doing it? Maybe. Why not? So how are you doing it? Or why not? Are you practicing German now? Nope. Oh, why aren't you practicing German right now? All right. Dave says, find out how they learn exercises, conversation, creative writing, reading a novel in a second language. Okay. Let's go with a version of Dave's question. And again, this is my first pass at questions. This is not the last. I would normally go over these a lot and normally get help from a fellow researcher so that I've got another brain and pair of eyes on these. This is the kind of thing I do like to bounce off other people so that I'm not making mistakes. Here, I'm bouncing it off of 10, 15, 20 of you. Thank you very much for your collaboration. So, how can you tell when you're making progress in a language? I know for me, some of that was having a dream where I was speaking Italian, and I know a very big moment for me was passing the Italian test, and I also know a really big moment for me was about 2 years ago. I had to go to the emergency room, and they wouldn't let my boyfriend in because of COVID, and he's usually my translator, and then it was like, oh, I'm about to find out how much Italian I know because I'm going to the emergency room alone. So then I knew I'd made a little progress. These are the things. But yeah, how can you tell you're making progress? Hopefully people can tell more than those scary moments that they're making progress. All right, let's see. How do they learn? Excuse me, did we have that one? Yes, we had what methods are you currently using to learn German? So that should cover some of Dave's stuff about conversation, writing, reading, but we can put that in parentheses if we want to make sure to ask some follow-up questions about that. So conversation, writing, reading, watching TV or videos, etc. So just in case they need a little prompting, like what do you mean, then you can prompt. But I try not to prompt people if they can just answer the question. What if we ask them to imagine that they've learned the language? How do they see themselves using it? Can we learn about their desired outcome? Okay, so did we ask them their goals? We probably need to ask that much earlier here. That's a good one to get early. How long have you been studying German? Well, maybe the first question is really, have you started studying German? Well, we assume, again, we might know that from the screener survey, but I'll leave it here for now just in case we make different decisions later on the screener survey. We can always clean this up. How long have you been studying German? Why are you studying German? Like, do you have plans? That's really a follow-up. Do you have plans to move to Germany or a German-speaking country? So why are you studying German is kind of goals, but let's ask it again another way in case we get additional information. Sometimes I ask a question in a couple of different ways using some different wording just in case it pulls different answers out of people. So what are your goals for learning German? So I think that maybe just asking their goals could help them with the desired outcome. I think the average person doesn't necessarily think of the words desired outcome, so it makes sense for us. But I would probably I try to use plainer language with people. So what are your goals? What languages have you studied before? What went well? What could be improved? How much time did you spend? How much money did you invest? What learning methods did you use? What was most effective in your progress? What was most challenging about learning? How did you overcome that? How did you practice this language? At what level are you now with German? How did you assess that? What is your budget for learning German to reach your goals? What methods are you currently using to learn German? Are there methods you tried that you abandoned? Are you practicing German now? How can you tell when you're making progress? I also want to ask, do you have conversation partners or buddies now? How did you find or select those people? Because someone had asked, I think it was Elvina, how would they have selection criteria for their choice? Maybe who is your ideal conversation partner or buddy? Because I think those things might help us with the those could help us. Thanks, Elvina, great question. I think those could help us with some set us up for some design success, because then we could be thinking about how do people want to be matched? Is gender important? Is age important? If I'm 18, do I want to talk to someone who's 60? Is that a good thing? If I'm 60, do I want to talk to someone who's 18? Do people care about age or gender or things like that? So I'll just put that in parentheses to remind myself that I might need to ask follow-up questions about is age, gender, other factors important? And that was a compound subject, so it's R. Jay says, why did they abandon the method? Okay, so where did we have something that they stopped doing? Are there methods that you abandoned? Why? What could have been improved? Okay, so we got that one, Jay. Jay might be a little bit back in time, but that's okay. We've got a few more minutes together, then I think we'll be continuing this one next week. We'll take a second look next week at our research plan, and then let's go and design maybe an onboarding or some sort of people matching quickie medium fidelity prototype. So we'll definitely continue this one next week in episode 14. Again, remember to please subscribe here on YouTube and ring that bell. Make sure it says all notifications so that you know when I'm live or I've posted a video. And again, I bet you know someone who's learning UX or wants to get better at it, even if they're already working in UX. Won't you please tell them about the Delta CX community and channel? Because YouTube is not going to help us on this one. And of course, if you need help with some links related to the show, deltacx.com/links will get you to our show schedule, our free Slack workspace, and other fun stuff. Okay, I think we're going to wind down for today. We've got a lot of stuff cooking here. I'm going to upload the Axure file so that anybody who wants to take a look at it can. And again, that's at qxnpzb.axshare.com. And that's how you would be able to take a look at this, both pages that we've worked on. And we'll just continue next week, I think, because these shows are normally just an hour. So let's press the magic button and go back to me. Hello. All right. Any thoughts or questions about what we worked on today before I play us out of here and call it a day? Of course, I'll be here tomorrow for Office Hours Ask Me Anything. That will be at 6:30 p.m. Italy time, as it usually is. And remember, if anybody's interested in my new training called Transforming Toward Customer Centricity, you can find it at deltacx.link/ttcc-training. Elvina says, thank you, Debbie. Such a useful format of the live stream. Yeah, thank you. I hope so. I really, I'm not going to start my own school necessarily, but I think there are definitely ways to try to teach people some techniques and some better habits than they might be learning elsewhere. And hey, it's free. Dave says, thanks. This was great. Well, so were you, Dave. You had some great ideas in there. You too, Elvina, Jay, everybody. Really, Janice, everybody was super today. Lots of great ideas and questions today. Who else? Let's scroll back up the chat and thank everybody for their contribution. Sriyashini, Jamila, Steph, Saskia, Udipta, Aiten, Madalena, Ugo Chukwu. Elliot was here too. Shannon Kelly was here. We haven't seen her in a while. Charlene, Mix Betty, Banarazi. Sorry, I'm giving everyone like Italian pronunciation names. Orlando. Eleonore. That's how I would say your name, but I'm probably totally messing it up. Sorry about that. And Manuel, yes, thank you. Can't wait for next week. Yes, this is Tuesday's show, so Monday show. So we'll be here Monday. Sorry, I should put the, we've got the new way of putting up the chats on the screen as they come in, as I see them through the Restream system. So thanks to everybody who joined in today, and we will continue this next week with episode 14 of Think Out Loud. And I guess I'll play us out of here. Have a good day or evening wherever you are, and I hope to see you tomorrow for, Eleonoreu. Oh, I don't know. You're gonna have to write that one to me. Send me a voice message of you saying it. Eu. There's an eu sound in that? I need help. Hey, everybody, I need lessons in how to say your names. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, everybody, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are